The last thing my father ever said to me was, "Some people are born with a future, and others have to make their own." Then he closed the door. 5 years later, the person whose future was guaranteed was sitting in my office, and I was the one holding the key. Before I tell you how the circle closed, I need to know, where are you watching this from? Let me know in the comments. I need to know I'm not the only one who was ever made to feel like a backup plan. Our home in Oakwood was a museum of quiet disappointments. It always smelled of fresh paint and ambition, my mother's desperate attempt to cover the scent of my father's failed dreams. I grew up in the shadow of my older brother, Leo. He was the golden child, the one destined for greatness. A business major with a smile that could sell sunshine in a desert. Every ounce of my parents' hope was poured into him. I was just the spillover. My father, Robert, managed a warehouse. He believed in grit, in the kind of value you could measure with calloused hands. My mother, Helen, curated our family's image with the precision of a museum curator. And Leo? Leo was their masterpiece. I learned my place early. It was the stool at the kitchen island, not the chair at the dining table. When Leo turned 17, he got a sleek, pre-owned sedan. I got a handshake and you understand, money is tight for your ambitions. My ambition, at the time, was a used biology textbook. But the day the thick envelope arrived from State College with its proud embossed seal, I let myself believe, just for one dizzying moment, that the narrative could change. I'd spent years mowing lawns, walking dogs, and shelving books at the local library to save up. When I read the word congratulations, my heart felt like it might take flight. That night, I laid the letter on the kitchen counter like a sacred text. "I got in," I said, my voice trembling. "They offered me a partial scholarship. I can cover the rest with my savings and a job." My father didn't look up from his ledger. "We're supporting Leo through his MBA. That's our focus. You need to be practical." Practical? The word tasted like ash. I've done nothing but be practical. This is my chance. He finally looked at me, his eyes flat. "Then take it. You're 18. It's time you learned to stand on your own 2 feet." Leo, scrolling through his phone, sighed. "You're always so dramatic, Sam." That word, dramatic, was the match that lit the fuse. I had swallowed a lifetime of their conditional love, but in that moment, it all come rushing up. Have you ever once asked what I want, what I'm capable of? The kitchen went silent. My mother's hand went to her purse. She pulled out a crisp $50 bill and pressed it into my palm. Her touch was ice cold. "For your independence," she whispered, not meeting my eyes. My father had already returned to his numbers. I was a closed account. I packed one bag. A few clothes, my dog-eared copy of East of Eden, and that acceptance letter, folded neatly in my pocket. When I stepped outside, a fine, cold mist was falling. Through the living room window, I saw Leo's silhouette, watching. He didn't move. The door clicked shut, and the sound was more final than any thunderclap. The first night taught me the true weight of solitude. The bus shelter bench was hard and damp. The 50 in my pocket felt like a mockery. I stared at my acceptance letter until the words blurred into meaningless shapes. Every set of headlights that swept past felt like a searchlight exposing my failure. By the second day, the cold had seeped into my bones. I was shivering, my head throbbing. I remember a voice cutting through the haze. "Kid, you all right?" He was an older man, maybe in his 60s, with a weathered face and kind eyes. His name was Arthur, a truck driver on a coffee run. He gave me his flannel shirt, called an ambulance, and waited. In the stark white light of the hospital, a nurse fixed a plastic band on my wrist. Name, Sam Ellis. Address, none. That word, none, was a deeper wound than the pneumonia they diagnosed me with. When I was discharged, weak and disoriented, a different nurse pressed a $10 bill into my hand. "Arthur left this for you," said to keep going. They gave me a leaflet for a place called The Anchor, a shelter downtown. It was a brick building sandwiched between a check-cashing place and a closed-down store. But the light in the window was warm. The woman at the door, Beatrice, had eyes that saw everything. "You get a cot, a locker, and a clean slate," she said. "The rest is on you." So I worked. I mopped floors, sorted donations, and scrubbed bathrooms until my hands were raw. The other residents called me the ghost, but the work was an anchor. It proved I was still here. One afternoon, Beatrice pinned a note to the community board. "Dishwasher needed. Mario's Pizzeria. Ask for Tony." The next morning, I walked there in shoes that were a size too big. Mario's smelled of garlic and yeast, a universe away from the sterile scent of my old home. Tony was a mountain of a man, sleeves rolled over tattooed forearms. He looked me up and down, saw my hospital band still faint on my wrist, and tossed me an apron. "Ever worked in industrial sprayer?" he grunted. "No," I said. "Good. No bad habits. You last the shift, you get paid." That night, as I scraped dried cheese from pans, listening to the hum of the refrigerators, I realized something profound. Hitting rock bottom isn't the end. It's the solid ground you need to start building. Days at Mario's blurred into a routine of steam and suds. My back ached, my skin was perpetually pruned, but the exhaustion was honest. Tony was a man of few words, but he was fair. "Stack 'em higher," he'd grunt. "You're wasting moves." His criticism was a form of respect. I started to see the patterns in the chaos, which deliveries came when, which ingredients ran out fastest. I began organizing the dry storage in my mind, then on napkins. I created a system. One afternoon, our produce delivery was late. Again. The driver, a woman named Maria, hopped out of the truck, apologizing. Traffic on Main was a nightmare. I helped her unload, placing the tomatoes where they wouldn't get crushed, moving the perishables to the front. "You've got a method," she observed, wiping her brow. "Saves time later," I shrugged. "Kid, you've got a brain for logistics." It was the first compliment that didn't feel like pity. That night, I sketched a more efficient delivery schedule on the back of a pizza box. The next morning, Tony studied it for a long minute, grunted, and taped it to the wall. "Keep using your head for more than a hat rack," he said. It was the highest praise I'd ever received. Months passed. The pizzeria became my business school. I learned about inventory, cash flow, and customer service. When Maria's truck broke down, I coordinated with another driver to get our cheese delivered on time. She started calling me the conductor. When a local shipping company, Gridline Logistics, posted a job for a warehouse clerk, Maria was the one who shoved the flyer at me. "You're perfect for this." "They'll want a degree," I argued. "Try," she insisted. So I did. I printed my resume on the shelter's ancient computer. It smelled faintly of pepperoni. The warehouse manager, a no-nonsense woman named Brenda, interviewed me. "Tell me how you handle a backlogged shipment," she said. I told her about my pizza box schedules and my napkin flowcharts. I was honest. She leaned back, a flicker of interest in her eyes. "You've got no formal training, but you've got sense. I can work with sense." That sentence was the key that unlocked my life. At Gridline, the world of systems and data opened up to me. It was a language I understood instinctively. I was no longer just surviving, I was solving. Within a year, I was optimizing routes that veteran drivers had been running for decades. I didn't need their chair at the table. I was designing the whole restaurant. It took 5 years to turn that pizza box sketch into a company. Apex Flow Consulting started in a shared workspace that smelled of stale coffee and ambition. It was just me, a laptop, and a relentless drive. Every client, every solved problem was another brick in the foundation of my new life. By 23, my company helped small businesses streamline their operations. We gave them the efficiency of giants. On my office wall, I kept 2 reminders: the faded hospital wristband with address none, and the $50 bill, now framed, a monument to the cost of being discarded. The morning it happened, my head of HR, Chloe, appeared at my door. Final candidate for the logistics manager role. Strong resume, degree in business admin. She paused, frowning at her tablet. Name is Leo Ellis. The air in the room thickened. I didn't flinch. Schedule him for Thursday, I said, my voice even. Thursday was overcast, a gray light filtering through the floor-to-ceiling windows. I came in early, straightening the frames on my wall. At 9 a.m. precisely, Chloe knocked and opened the door. He's here. The click of expensive dress shoes on polished concrete, a sound I remembered from hallways long ago. Leo walked in, confident, polished. He gave a professional smile. Good morning. Morning, I replied. Please sit. He didn't know me. To him, I was just another executive. A hurdle. Chloe made the introductions. This is Sam Ellis, our founder and CEO. The name landed in the quiet room like a stone in a still pond. Leo's smile faltered. His eyes darted to my face, then away, then back, searching for the ghost of the brother he'd watched walk away. Ellis? He repeated, his voice barely a whisper. I gestured to the chair. Let's begin. His resume was impressive. He spoke about team leadership, budget management, strategic initiatives. Every answer was polished, a performance honed over years of being the favored son. I listened, letting the silence after his answers stretch just a little too long. Finally, I asked, describe a time you had to make a difficult decision that wasn't popular. He shifted. Well, at my last firm, I had to reallocate resources from a pet project to a core revenue stream. It was about ensuring the long-term health of the company. Long-term health, I echoed. An interesting concept. What does that mean to you personally? He met my gaze, a crack appearing in his composure. It means making the hard choice for the greater good. The greater good, I repeated. His eyes then drifted past me, to the wall. They landed on the framed $50 bill. I saw the exact moment the pieces clicked into place. His face lost all its color. His jaw went slack. Sam, he breathed. My name, a question, a confession. We're here to discuss your qualifications, Mr. Ellis, I said calmly. He was shaking. We heard you'd left the state. I did. I also arrived. I didn't expect, he stammered. This is a professional setting, I reminded him softly. The past is a different country. He swallowed hard, trying to reclaim his poise. You've built an incredible company. Thank you, I said. I had excellent motivation. The room was silent. A single traitorous tear escaped down his cheek. Mom and Dad, they talk about you. They regret it. All of it. I studied him. The hierarchy of our childhood playing out in the space between us. His car, my bus pass. His applause, my silence. They made a choice, I said, my voice quiet but firm. And so did you. His voice broke. I was a kid. I didn't stop them. I should have. You didn't have to, I replied. That's the nature of privilege. You rarely have to fight for your seat. He nodded, the weight of the years pressing down on him in that sterile office. Are you going to give me the job? I looked at his resume, then back at his face, now stripped of its arrogant mask. That depends, I said. Can you work for a leader who values merit over pedigree? Who believes every person in this company, from the mailroom up, deserves the chance you were given at birth? He took a shaky breath. I can learn. Good, I said. Because that's the only thing we build here. Merit. After he left, Chloe slipped back in. Well, that was intense. I looked out at the gray sky. Offer him the position, She was stunned. Are you sure? After everything? Everyone deserves a chance to prove they've changed, I said. Even those who once denied you yours. That evening, I stood by the window as the city lights began to glitter. Somewhere out there, my brother was navigating the streets, his worldview shattered, and I realized forgiveness isn't always a grand embrace. Sometimes it's simply the quiet decision to stop letting the past dictate the future. It's a boundary respectfully maintained. The phone on my desk lit up. Mom flashed on the screen. I let it ring until it went to voicemail. The silence that returned wasn't empty. It was full. It was mine. The next morning, Leo started. He was early, hungry, clutching a notebook. When I passed him in the hall, he stopped. Thank you, Sam, for this. Don't thank me, I said, not unkindly. Prove me right. He nodded, a small, genuine smile touching his lips for the first time. Later, alone in my office, I looked at the framed tokens of my journey. The wristband, the money. They were no longer symbols of pain, but of power. They were the foundation stones. I picked up the frame, my reflection superimposed over the faded green bill. Address? None. Was no longer my identity. I had built my own address, my own legacy. I placed it back carefully, turned off the light, and whispered to the quiet room, "The account is settled." That weekend, I drove back to Oakwood. The town seemed smaller, less intimidating. The bus shelter was still there, the bench worn smooth by time and waiting. I placed a single, smooth stone on the seat where I'd spent that first, terrible night. This is where they ended one story, and where I began mine. I stood for a long time, not in anger, but in acknowledgement. The mist felt different now. It felt like renewal. As I walked back to my car, the first rays of the sun broke through the clouds, painting the wet pavement in streaks of gold. Because everyone deserves a future. Especially those who are told they don't. If this story found a place in your heart, share it. And tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? You are not alone.